Sharing the screen. Can all of you see the screen, please? Or chapter Karma Yoga 3.1. Mm. Yeah. So before we begin the chapter, I'd like to a little bit tell about the overview of this chapter so that you have some understanding. And that's how it can give us some more hint. So, so I have the guide. So this third chapter, I'm just sharing you the screen for seeing the overview of this. So the third chapter technically is called Karma Yoga. Action in Krishna consciousness. But Prabhupada translates it. You can see here. So here Arjuna's confusion, renunciation or action. So Arjuna asked, if you think that buddhi is better than karma, why do you want me to fight? Because Krishna was talking about, acting in buddhi yoga, being detached from the results and controlling mind and senses and work for Krishna's, try to please the Lord, satisfy the Lord. So she get little confused whether he should be following renunciation or should he be doing action. If buddhi is better than karma, why do you want me to fight then? There's confusion. Then third to ninth start what Krishna's Kam Karma Yoga is better for Arjuna than Gyan Yoga. The two types of people, Gyan Yogis who renounce work and Karma Yogis who do prescribed work. Premature renunciation of work is not recommended because inaction is unnatural. A pretender externally renounces work but inwardly dwells on sense object, better perform prescribed work for Krishna and avoid bondage. Then from Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga, Nishkam Karma Yoga to set the right example. Conquering less the greatest enemy is how the chapter ends. Okay. Mm. So Krishna gave a prelude to the Bhagavad Gita by presenting different ways, Sankhya Yoga, Karma Kanda, Buddhi Yoga, Karma Yoga, and so on, but they were unsystematic. From this chapter, he gives a more organized outline of these paths. In this chapter, Krishna describes Nishkam Karma Yoga, the great art of doing prescribed action as an offering to the Supreme Lord Krishna, without personal desire and thus avoiding the bondage in work. Krishna also described that discrimination necessary for a person desiring to conquer over lust and anger. Mm. So say Krishna told in 249 that Arjuna to keep away all abominable actions, no? Avaram karma, far away by buddhi yoga. He meant to establish the superiority of Nishkam karma yoga over karma kanda there. However, Arjuna thought that fighting is an abominable action. That in terms of buddhi yoga means to renounce it. But Krishna urged him to fight seemed contradictory to Arjuna. So he asked Krishna about this question. That's why this question comes to him. So you think that intelligence is better than action. Why you want me to engage in classy warfare? The equivocal instructions, he thinks like that. Because Krishna told that keep all abominable action away by buddhi yoga. So buddhi yoga, he thought it to be, it means to renounce it. So you can keep far away. That means don't act. But actually, what Krishna is saying is abominable action means doing for fruitive activities, means for some fruits that one should avoid. One should can keep away all that inauspicious path for sense gratification by performing buddhi yoga. Buddhi yoga means nishkam karma yoga or the devotional service or karma kanda. Karma kanda is fruitive action, just working for one's own gratification. Okay, so just giving you the background of this, and then we will go back to this. You're able to see this thing, no? You're seeing what? Are you seeing this?
We can see what the circle, Prabhuji.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's what I wanted to show you. Okay. So I'm going to now the chapter. Okay, so let's recite the verse. Or if you can unmute and recite after me, please the first verse. Arjuna Vacha
Arjuna Vacha
Jyasasi Chet Karmanaste
Jyashasi Ched Karmanastasya
Mata Buddhir Dhanardana
Mata buddhi janardana
Matabuddhirana
Tatkim Karmani Ghore
tatme
Tatkam
karmani
Karmani
ghore
Kore
Mam Niyojayasi Keshava.
manyo yajasi
Amniyojasi
keshava.
Keshava.
Can you read the translation?
Translation: Arjuna said, "O Janardana, O Keshava, why do you want to engage me in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work?"
Read the purport.
Purport: The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, has very elaborately described the constitution of the soul in the previous chapter, with a view of delivering his intimate friend Arjuna from the ocean of material grief. And that path of realization has been recommended, Buddhi Yoga, or Krishna consciousness. Sometimes Krishna consciousness is misunderstood to be inertia, and one with such a misunderstanding often withdraws to a secluded place to become Krishna conscious by chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna. But without being trained in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, it is not advisable to chant the holy name of Krishna in a secluded place, where one may acquire only cheap adoration from the innocent public. Arjuna also thought of Krishna consciousness or Buddhi Yoga or intelligence in spiritual advancement of knowledge as something like retirement from active life and the practice of penance and austerity at a secluded place. In other words, he wanted to skillfully avoid the fighting by using Krishna consciousness as an excuse. But as a sincere student, he placed the matter before his master and questioned Krishna as to his best course of action. In answer, Lord Krishna elaborately explained Karma Yoga, or working Krishna consciousness, in this third chapter.
Yeah, so the confusion he will eradicate. So we clear it up. So Sumedha Gauri Krishna has very elaborately described the constitution of soul in previous chapter to help him understand Arjuna how one can be delivered from this ocean of grief by understanding the science of soul. And the path of realization has been recommended Buddhi Yoga. How do you realize that? By Buddhi Yoga, Krishna consciousness. Sometimes Krishna consciousness is misunderstood to be inertia. And when we such misunderstanding often withdraws to a secular place to become fully Krishna conscious by chanting the name of the Lord. It means when we want to retire and just chant all day, going to seclusion. But it says without being trained in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, it is not advisable to chant the name of Krishna in a secular place where one may acquire only cheap adoration from innocent public. So Arjuna also thought of Krishna consciousness Buddhi Yoga, intelligence and spiritual advancement of knowledge, or intelligence and spiritual advancement of knowledge as something like retirement from active life. So he thought Buddhi Yoga or intelligence and spiritual advancement means the retirement from active life and be in seclusion and just do some bhajan or some chanting. Practice life of austerity and practice penance on a separate place. In other words, he wanted to skillfully avoid the fighting by using Krishna consciousness as an excuse. But as a sincere student, he plays the matter before his master and questions Krishna as to best course of action. Also, God Krishna elaborated Karma Yoga or working Krishna consciousness, this chapter, third chapter. So, Krishna consciousness is not an inertia. It's not some kind of retirement from active engagements. So, I think we were discussing yesterday that how we have to only act as per our constitutional position as servant of Krishna. If that consciousness is there, then every other indirect activity also can be spiritualized fully. It can become a devotional act: cooking, cleaning, taking care of the family members, earning money. Everything becomes a devotional act when you have this consciousness that I'm servant of Krishna. So that is the art of Buddhi Yoga. That's why it's very practical chapter that how work in Krishna consciousness. Very, very good chapter actually. How one can engage, because in this world people are busy with so many work, but the art of obtaining all the work for Krishna is what is the real karma yoga, which is actually bhakti yoga directly then. Because you act in relation with the Lord, understanding you're a servant of Krishna. व्यामिश्रेणेव वाक्येन बुद्धिं मोहयसीव मे तदेकं वद निश्चित्य येन श्रेयाहमाप्नुयाम्. Praveen, you can read the translation, please.
My intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be most beneficial for me.
Yeah, Virat, can you give the background to Praveen Prabhu about how this chapter begins? What is the question? What is the confusion?
From the last verse, Prabhuji.
First verse.
Yeah. Essentially, Arjuna asked Lord Krishna, should he use his intelligence versus should he use his intelligence rather than trying to fight in this ghastly war? I think that was what the question was.
Not exactly. Whether he should renounce or should fight. Confusion came. Because when Krishna told about Buddhi Yoga, Arjuna thought Buddhi Yoga means using intelligence for spiritual advancement, meaning doing austerities and it's like not being inactive, retiring from active life. And
Right.
using his intelligence in doing austerities, penance, and advancing his spiritual life in seclusion. That's what he interpreted. He thought it that way. When Krishna talked about Buddhi Yoga. But actually Krishna meant Buddhi Yoga means acting with as a Nishkam Karma Yoga, or without having attachment for result, but acting in Krishna consciousness, acting for the pleasure of the Lord. That's close to Bhakti Yoga basically. It's Bhakti Yoga in that sense. So, so over Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda means acting for one's gratification. So Krishna did not want Arjuna to act for self gratification, but act for the pleasure of the Lord. But he should act. Buddhi Yoga means do work for the pleasure of Krishna. With the detachment from the fruits. So that's what Krishna wanted to tell you. So, but he thought it to be that he's retiring. So then he thought, then why Krishna is telling me to fight? When he's saying that you have to retire, with the Buddhi Yoga you have to do, then why fighting? Because Krishna told, you keep all the abominable activities away. So that abominable activity thought fighting is abominable. by attain Buddhi Yoga. So he thought, okay, then so he got confused. Krishna is telling to fight then, or Krishna is telling to renounce? So he's confused. That's why he's clarifying this chapter. Is it clear? Virat Prabhu.
Yeah, that makes sense, Prabhuji.
Praveen Prabhu, are you clear?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Yes. Can you read the translation?
Purport.
Yeah,
In,
purport.
in the previous chapter, as a prelude to Bhagavad Gita, many different paths were explained, such as Sankhya Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, control of the senses by intelligence, work without fruitive desire, and the position of the neophyte. This was all presented unsystematically. A more organized outline of the path would be necessary for action and understanding. Arjuna therefore wanted to clear up these apparently confusing matters so that any common man could accept them without misinterpretation. Although Krishna had no intention of confusing Arjuna by any jugglery of words, Arjuna could not follow the process of Krishna consciousness, either by inertia or by active service. In other words, by his questions, he is clearing the path of Krishna consciousness for all students who seriously want to understand the mystery of Bhagavad Gita.
Any comment to understand them without although Krishna had no intention of confusing, they could not follow the process of Krishna, either by inertia or by active service. Otherwise, by questions, clearly the path of Krishna for all service. If you understand this statement, okay. Text 3. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Lokesmin Vivida Nishta Pura Prokta Mayanaga Jnana Yogena Sankyanam Karma Yogena Yoginam. Yes. Translation. Somebody else would like to read, please? Prashant Prabhu, you want to read?
Prabhuji, I'm driving right now. I'm in the car.
Oh, okay. So anybody else, if available? Okay, then Virat Prabhu, you can continue.
Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O sinless Arjuna, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who try to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand it by empirical philosophical speculation, and others by devotional service.
Yeah. Yes, purport.
Purport. In the second chapter, verse 39, the Lord explained two kinds of procedures, namely Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. In this verse, the Lord explains the same more clearly. Sankhya Yoga, or the analytical study of the nature of spirit and matter, is the subject matter of for persons who are inclined to speculate and understand things by experimental knowledge and philosophy.
What happened?
You just moved it, probably.
Okay.
The other classes of men who work in.
So I was seeing the word meaning. It says, Anagauss in this one, Jnana Yogena, by the linking process of knowledge, Sankhyana of the empiric philosophers. So that is Jnana Yogena Sankhya. And Karma Yogena, by the linking process of devotion. So I'm trying to understand by empirical philosophical speculation. Yeah, go ahead, Paul. So two kinds of procedures, namely Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. No, so Karma Yoga, Buddhi Yoga is similar. Sankhya Yoga is like empiric philosophy. So in this verse, Lord Krishna explains more clearly. Sankhya Yoga, analytical study of nature, spirit, and matter, the subject matter for means are inclined to speculate and understand things by experimental knowledge and philosophy. The other class of men work in
Krishna consciousness. And as explained in the 61st verse of the second chapter, the Lord has explained also in the 39th verse that by working by the principles of Buddha Yoga or Krishna consciousness, one can be relieved from the bonds of action. And furthermore, there is no flaw in the process. The same principle is more clearly explained in the 61st verse that this Buddha Yoga is to depend entirely on the Supreme, or more specifically on Krishna. And in this way, all the senses can be brought under control very easily. Therefore, both the yogas are independent as religion and philosophy. Religion without philosophy is sentiment and sometimes fanaticism, while philosophy without religion is mental speculation.
I think Samir you skipped something. Yeah? Did you read the same principle work will explain 60 verse by the Buddha Yoga depend entirely on the Supreme? Did you read
I read that one.
Or more specifically on Krishna. And in this way, all the senses can be brought under control very easily. You read this?
Yeah.
Okay. Therefore, both the yogas are interdependent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Therefore, both the yogas are interdependent as religion and philosophy. Religion without philosophy is sentiment and sometimes fanaticism, while philosophy without religion is mental speculation. The ultimate goal is Krishna, because the philosophers who are also sincerely searching after the absolute truth come in the end to Krishna consciousness. This is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita. The whole process is to understand the real position of the self in relation to the superself. The indirect process is philosophical speculation, by which gradually one may come to the point of Krishna consciousness. And the other process is directly connecting everything with Krishna in Krishna consciousness. Of these two, the path of Krishna consciousness is better because it does not depend on purifying the senses by a philosophical process. Krishna consciousness is itself the purifying process, and by the direct method of devotional service, it is simultaneously easy and sublime.
You got the point, no? Anything to be, any question in this? Any one of you? Little technical, but it's easy. No?
For me, it is very advanced.
You're not able to get it? Are you getting it?
Yes, slowly getting it.
See, basically, if you see the verse now, see what he's saying, Pura Prokta Maya Naga, Jnana Yogena Sankhyanam. That means the philosophical process. Sankhya is like a more philosophical process, like Jnana Marga mainly. Karma Yogena Yogina. So that is more like practical action in Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada is explaining. So which is, so what he's saying. So some inclined to this, some inclined, others are very much service. So there are two classes of people, those who try to realize the self. Krishna is mentioning. Understood, no? Two classes of people is already mentioned. And Prabhupada is clarifying in the translation that actually among that, Karma Yogena Yogina, that means those are acting in Krishna consciousness is more conducive and easy. But the philosophical process is quite tedious. So you have to, because Karma Yogena Yogina, they one automatically employ the senses in Krishna consciousness. So that the senses and mind are in control already. Clear, no?
Right. Okay.
So to see it from that perspective of philosophical speculation and trying to eventually may come to Krishna consciousness or direct Krishna, working Krishna consciousness. Karma Yogena Yoginam directly Prabhupada is talking about Bhakti Yoga. Devotionals acting in Bhakti Yoga, devotional service. This is Prabhupada, the way he's putting it up, and that is how the real understanding we can take it up. Yes, Prabhu. Na karmana. Yeah. Na karmana manarambha anarambha nashkarmyam purushostute nita sannyasana aveva siddhim samadagachyati. Yes. Praveen from you.
Translation. Not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection.
Now, not by abstaining from work. That means philosophical speculation and you retire from work and try to do that. Just Sankhya Yoga, that won't help. And simply by renunciation also. Yeah. So so abstaining from work and renouncing the work, one cannot attain perfection. So read it further.
Purport. The renounced order of life can be accepted when one has been purified by the discharge of the prescribed form of duties which are laid down just to purify the hearts of materialistic men. Without purification, one cannot attain success by abruptly adopting the fourth order of life, sannyasa. According to empirical philosophers, simply by adopting sannyasa or retiring from fruitive activities, one at once becomes as good as Narayana. But Lord Krishna does not approve this principle. Without purification of heart, sannyasa is simply a disturbance to the social order. On the other hand, if someone takes to transcendental service of the Lord, even without discharging his prescribed duties, whatever he may be able to advance in the cause is accepted by the Lord. Swalpam apiyasya dharmasya traite mahato bhayat. Even a slight performance of such a principle enable one to overcome great difficulties.
So, genius purport. See, what Prabhupada is saying that the renunciation, fourth order somebody may take, that means he just gives up all the fruitive activities. But he doesn't have that kind of active engagement in Krishna consciousness. No? So simply, merely, just giving up all his activity, fruitive activities, and thinking that I'm Narayana or basically the Gyan Marga, no? So it doesn't help. Yeah, he cannot remain stable in his sanya that way. No? The disturbance of social order. But he's saying, on the other hand, if someone takes to the transcendental service of the Lord, even without discharging his prescribed duty, whether whatever he may be able to advance if the cause is accepted by the Lord. So, but if somebody takes up to the path of Krishna consciousness and dedicates his life, such a kind of devotee who may retire from fruitive activities but gets engaged, like when devotees join ISKCON, they are loaded with so much of services. Loaded means they voluntarily take it up. They manage, they cook, they preach, they distribute books. So much overwhelming services. So that's how actively he once gets engaged. And then that kind of renounce out of life is successful. Because he's not simply retiring to just be with his mind and intelligence and just do some dry austerities and penance and think that you're Narayana, keep silence. So that kind of renunciation is not very much advisable for somebody who has not yet purified his heart. Actually, somebody may take to some pronounced path, like somebody may take a brahmacharya life, and like that. So, but if he is actively giving himself for the service of the Lord, sorry says, if someone takes to a transcendental service of the Lord, even without discharging his prescribed duties sometimes, whatever he may be able to advance is the cause is accepted by the Lord, Buddhi Yoga, because that is coming under the path of devotional service. So that you are actually acting. So the essence of renunciation is there because you're actively acting in Krishna consciousness while you may be engaging in temple construction or accounts or cooking. Yeah, so you're adopting all your activities in Krishna service. So then you will get stability in your being a true renunciant like that. And that way, even if somebody is married as a grahastha, he also acts the service of the Lord. So for him also, that will not become a bondage if he is very truly engaging everything in Krishna service. That's why in Krishna consciousness, everybody can be a sannyasi in a true spirit. But here the comparison is again between sannyasa taken by mainly for those who are into philosophical speculation, trying to understand absolute truth by this philosophical speculation. They retire from fruitive activities. Now they don't go on to get some gratification, but they may not be actively engaged in the service of the Lord. So that kind of stability will not. So that they will not have stability in their situation of sannyas if they are not having purified heart. And that's why the great risk. But for a devotee, because of his transcendental engagement, he can go steadily in his whatever ashrama he is in. Either he takes a renounce order or he takes a grahastha order, he can stably progress in Krishna consciousness nicely and can remain fixed in his spirit of service and renunciation if he's actually in a renounced order also can remain steady by engaging in devotional service fully. That is the way. Even a slight performance of such a principle enables one to overcome great difficulties. Yes. नहीं कश्चित् क्षणमपि जातु तिष्ठति कर्मकृत् कार्यते हविषा कर्म सर्वा प्रकृति जर गुणैः. Yes, Prabhu.
Translation: Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. Purport: It is not a question of embodied life, but it is the nature of the soul to always be active. Without the presence of the spiritual soul, the material body cannot move. The body is only a dead vehicle to be worked by with the spirit soul, which is always active and cannot stop even for a moment. As such, the spirit soul has to be engaged in the good work for Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it will be engaged in occupations dictated by illusionary energy. In contact with material energy, the spirit soul acquires material modes. And to purify the soul from such affinities, it is necessary to engage in the prescribed duties enjoined in the Shastras. But if the soul is engaged in the natural function of Krishna consciousness, whatever he is able to do is good for him. The Srimad Bhagavatam affirms this. Tyakva sadharmanam charanam pujam hare bhajanam apakvo tapatit tat.
I want to give you. I want you to give up the fear of Sanskrit.
Okay.
It's simple. See, ty is tya, aktva, tyaktva. A bar means tyaktva. Swadharmam, charanam, and a bar is bada a. It's a long a. Charanam, bhujam, harer. Bhajan apakvo atha. When the slash tha is it atha. Atha patet tato yadi. Got it? Oh, I want now. I want now. I only want Kada now. कोई बना नहीं रहा. It says, in contact with material energy, the spirit soul acquires material modes. Sorry. Oh, Taktva Sadharma, okay. Yeah, now try reading Virat Pur. Never get discouraged. Read it. You will be the great Sanskrit reciter in future. Yes.
Yakva Sva Dharmam Charanam Bhujam.
Yes.
Charanam Bhujam.
Charanam
Bhuje Hare.
Bhujam.
Bhujam.
Bhujam. Jam, no? Jam. Bhujam. Hare. So you read the verse in the mind, the word in the mind, then you speak it. So you will be clear. Don't know it to be Hari also. Yes. Go ahead.
Bhajan apakvo atha patit tato yadi.
Patit nahi, patet. Patet tato yadi. Yeah.
Patit tato yadi. Yatra kva vavaradram.
Nahi, va bhadram.
Va bhadram.
Yeah.
Abud. Amush. No. Amushya. Oh, Amushakim.
Yes.
Ko
Perfect.
Vatra apto abajatam sa dharmata.
Yes, correct.
If someone takes to Krishna consciousness, even though he may not follow the prescribed duties in the Shastras or execute the devotional service properly, and even though he may fall down from the standard, there is no loss or evil for him. But if he carries out all the injunctions of purification in the Shastras, what does it avail him if he is not Krishna conscious? So the purificatory process is necessary for reaching this point of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, sannyasa or any purificatory process is to help reach the ultimate goal of becoming Krishna conscious, without which everything is considered a failure.
Yeah. So ultimately, we have to come to the platform of Krishna consciousness. Correct, no? Yeah. So if suppose somebody takes to Krishna consciousness directly, it's automatically a purificatory process. That's what I was saying, no? That somebody who has become purified in his heart, that for him sannyas was recommended. But if somebody takes a renounce out of life and is actively engaging in Krishna consciousness, so that's the most auspicious thing. But that itself is a purificatory process. Heart is being purified, and by that, his Krishna consciousness becomes more and more steady and wonderful. So if the spirit is to be fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, then that kind of person who may be taking, renounced order of life, brahmacharya life, renounced order of life, will get stability there because his heart will get purified by engaging in full-fledged devotional service like that. So it's an opportunity for once to get fully engaged in Krishna consciousness. This is what he's saying here. See what he says. In general, prescribed duties are told for purification of heart. That's a gradual purification, right? But the real thorough and swift purification of heart happens by directly taking to Krishna consciousness, right? And even if somebody who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, and if he's not able to perform prescribed duties, also no loss, because he's on the right track of purification. Ultimately the prescribed duties are also meant for purification only, and then to come to Krishna consciousness, that was meant for. Now you already come to Krishna consciousness. Okay, now sometimes he may be not doing might have not done prescribed duties properly. He might be sentimental, whatever. Or sometimes he will little fall here and there. No loss, no evil. Because nahi kalyan kachit durgatim tat gachati. The morning we are discussing this point very elaborately. So there is no loss to such a person because he's already come to the point of Krishna consciousness, and that effect is permanent. But if somebody not Krishna conscious doing prescribed duties, he may come to the path of Krishna in the future. But right now, what is the use? No, so much just prescribed duties, but not having Krishna consciousness. So, if sannyasa, any process to help reach the ultimate goal of becoming Krishna conscious, without which everything is considered a failure. Yeah. So, even a sannyasi, the renounced order also should eventually come to Krishna consciousness. Basically, talking about the philosophical, speculative path where people. That's the point. I'm in the store now. I have to get groceries. I will drop off for today. Really? Oh my God. Okay. The purification process necessary for reaching this point of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, sannyasa or any purificative process to help reach the ultimate goal of becoming Krishna conscious, without which everything is considered a failure. So this kind of sannyasa, jnana marga sannyasi has to also come to Krishna consciousness. So ultimately the purificative process should lead to Krishna consciousness, which is the ultimate perfect destination of everyone. And Krishna consciousness is self-purificatory process. I mean, self-manifested purification program it is. As soon as you take the program of Krishna consciousness, you are automatically purified. It's like this, no? If you have a dry wood, now you want to ignite fire. So what you can do? First make it dry. So when you dry it, then you put in the fire, then it will have good effect. Correct? Then it can nicely burn. But suppose you take the wood and directly put in the fire, then what happens? The effect of fire, powerful fire, the water will be burnt, and then the fire also will get, the fire would also will be burnt. So it will be done. Now, suppose you have firewood and the water is there, and you take to the process, take to the position where you're supposed to be having dry firewood. So, and then you get that require are you getting to a place or a certain place where certain kind of phase where only the dry wood is only mandate, that only is required. So when you put that wet wood there, then it will be a disqualification, right? Then it will be a problem there. So it is like sannyasa without having Krishna consciousness and without purification, one takes to that renounced order. So it becomes a great disturbance for society because heart is not yet purified. Right. So, uh, so like that. And after that so-called sannyasa also is meant for purification. That's the point. So that kind of purification program requires dryhood to some extent, to be able to come to the standard of being in the fire and able to have nice thing. So of course it is not a mandate qualification, but that's the ultimate end result, end point where the firewood should lead to. But that kind of purification drying process, for that they need certain amount of wet dryness in the wood, not so much of wet. So that's why that particular purificatory program, that the chamber which needs certain portion of, it needs certain prerequisite for the wood. It should be dried to some extent, great extent. Then that chamber would be fruitful. Otherwise, there it will create disturbance. So Krishna consciousness is like a direct program. It's a tap. You just take to the process of Krishna consciousness, and then you fully merge yourself in Krishna's service. So that way you become dry and you come in perfection. So in that way, Krishna consciousness, anybody takes fully, he is a pure sannyasi. Whether he's a brahmachari externally, or grahastha externally, or banpasta externally, or mataji externally, prabhuji externally, char externally, anybody who is fully engaged in Krishna service, he is a sannyasi. That's what Prabhupada taught us. Because he is like putting himself in the fire. So whichever ashram you choose, that's your choice. But then you are in the fire and you will be fully purified and go back to God. But that kind of full dedication to Krishna consciousness is required. And you may be a brahmachari, sannyasi, or you may be grahastha, but you're not engaged that way, dedicated way in Krishna service. Then you always risk of remaining not properly purified and not properly progress. That's how the whole thing becomes not so good. So yeah, and you can decide where you are able to fully be engaged in Krishna service. That's your thing you have to see. So you feel that the renounced order, brahmacharya order, we can help you to be thoroughly engaged in Krishna service. Take it up that. Somebody thinks, okay, by somebody is a grahastha, he can be engaged that way. Nicely Krishna service, you can take it that way. So it's up to the individual. But the point is, when Krishna consciousness, everybody is sannyasi in a real spirit. If he's putting himself in the fire of Krishna consciousness, so whatever purification required, it will take care. Krishna consciousness will itself purify the soul. Does it make sense, Prabhu? Is it clear? Very well. Or it is confusing?
It makes sense, Prabhuji.
Praveen Prabhu, for you?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, that's what it says here, no? Sannyasa or any purification is to help that ultimate goal of becoming Krishna conscious, without which everything is considered a failure. Yeah. कर्मेन्द्रियाणि संयम्य या आस्ते मनसा स्मरन् इन्द्रियार्थान् विमूढात्मा मिथ्याचारः स उच्यते. Yes, read. One who restrains.
Translation: one who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender.
Yeah, so it's talking about the sannyasi who takes this sannyas order, but he's not engaged in Krishna's service, right? Prematurely, So it's like so one undergoes a sannyas as a purificative process, but prerequisite is that he should be sufficiently detached from Maya. Then he can be there. And there he can have some stability in sannyas. So yeah, so that is one thing. So that is also purificated. So eventually he can come to Krishna consciousness. So that is what I'm saying, that it may be a sannyas order, may not be necessarily Krishna conscious. So for that, some kind of purification is required. Otherwise, he simply becomes a pretender. Like the firewood goes to that chamber and it creates problem. But prerequisite was that it should be sufficiently detached from Maya. Sufficient purification already must have happened. That's why in general processes, prescribed duties, get purification, take sannyas, further purify, then take to Krishna consciousness, like that. But Krishna consciousness is so powerful. Like one can take directly to Krishna consciousness and can get the benefit of doing all prescribed duties and as a sannyasi and be a true sannyasi. That's the point. In spite of your external situation, like that. So yeah. So one who stays the extensions of action, but whose mind dwells on the sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is God. Okay, purport.
Prabhu, there are many pretenders who refuse to work in Krishna consciousness but make a show of meditation while actually dwelling within the mind upon sense enjoyment. Such pretenders may also speak on dry philosophy in order to bluff sophisticated followers. But according to this verse, these are the greatest cheaters. For sense enjoyment, one can act in any capacity on the social order. But if one follows the rules and regulations of his particular status, he can make gradual progress in purifying his existence. But he who makes a show of being a yogi while actually searching for the objects of sense gratification must be called the greatest cheater, even though he sometimes speaks of philosophy. His knowledge has no value because the effects of such a sinful man's knowledge are taken away by illusionary energy of the Lord. Such a pretender's mind is always impure, and therefore his show of yogic meditation has no value whatsoever.
So it says, the many pretenders who refuse to work in Krishna consciousness but make a show of meditation while actually dealing with the mind of all sense enjoyment. So yeah, they may be doing some kind of austerities, penances, right? Seclusion. They may be doing some kind of things, stuff like that. But because they're not sufficiently detached from Maya, from gratification, so they're not engaging in Krishna consciousness. That's what I was talking about. So that kind of situation where they're taking externally sannyas, but they're not having refuge in Krishna consciousness. Such pretenders may also speak on dry philosophy in order to bluff. So we will follow, but according to this, was the greatest teacher. But for sense enjoyment, one can act in any capacity of the social order. But if one follow the rules and regulations of his particular status, he can make gradual progress in purifying existence. Yeah. So like that's what I was saying. Prescribed duties, one does in purification. Then gradually one can go to sannyasa. Gradual process purification. But he who makes a show of being a yogi, but actually searching for objects of some direction, must be called the greatest cheater. That means somebody takes as life of ascetic yogi or renunciant, and still he's not purified in his this tendency to be running after some gratification. So and without having refused, and refusing, the activity in Krishna consciousness, it becomes a disturbance. So even though sometimes speaks philosophy, his knowledge has no value because if it's a sinful man's knowledge that taken away the religion of the philosophy, pretenders find knowledge impure. Therefore, his show of physical meditation has no value whatsoever. So for a devotee, he is not a pretender because he is simply trying to engage himself in Krishna's service. He may be not purified, he may be still having some, the propensities for some gratification, but he is wanting to give it up and he's sincerely engaging and taking a refuse in Krishna consciousness. That's not his trying to make a show of meditation, but actually he's not refusing to work in Krishna consciousness. He's fully trying to work in Krishna consciousness. And he understands there is a whole and soul process for purifying my heart. With this understanding, if somebody takes to Krishna consciousness, most stable, most wonderful, most fortunate. Okay, so this verse has to be understood very carefully, otherwise sometimes people may take another different. Yasvindriyani manasa niyamyarvarte juna karmendriya karma yoga sakta sarvishishyate. So purports are very vital for the way explained purport clarifies. So Prabhupada understands the potency of Krishna, the potency of Bhakti Yoga. From that light, Prabhupada has given this purport. So he understands the heart of Krishna. So that way he's able to give the brilliant purports, which clarifies everything very nicely. So Prabhupada knows the heart of Krishna. He knows the glory of Bhakti Yoga, which so much is given in Bhagavatam and everything. So that's why Our Gita is like the essence of, the proper Gita is like the essence of all the highest understandings. Krishna wants us to understand. Yes, go ahead.
Translation. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior.
To control the active senses by mind and begins karma yoga, that is bhakti yoga. Without attachment, he is far superior. Right? So he is trying to control his mind and senses and acts in Krishna consciousness without having attachment for the Lord. I mean, attachment, not without having attachment for sankirtan. Yes, go ahead, purport.
But instead of becoming a pseudo-transcendentalist for the sake of wanton living and sense enjoyment, it is far better to remain in one's own business and execute the purpose of life, which is to get free from material bondage and enter into the kingdom of God. The prime Swartha Gati, or goal of self-interest, is to reach Vishnu. The whole institution of Varna and Ashrama is designed to help us reach this goal of life. A householder can also reach this destination by regulated service in Krishna consciousness. For self-realization, one can live a controlled life as prescribed in the Shastras and continue carrying out his business without attachment, and in that way make progress. A sincere person who follows this method is far better situated than the false pretender who adopts show bottle spiritualism to cheat the innocent public. A sincere sweeper in the street is better than the charlatan meditator who meditates only for the sake to make a living.
Yeah, so that means sincerity is required. No? So if somebody is taking up the path of transcendence, like as I was talking, sannyasa or yoga, divide of Krishna consciousness. So such kind of thing is disturbance, right? But if somebody is maybe, grahastha, like I was saying, grahastha who may be completely dedicating himself to Krishna consciousness. Apparently, it may not look like a transcendentalist. He may not be looking like a yogi or jnani, but he is actually, ready to go back to Godhead. Correct. And vice, and also somebody may be, like taking the path of renounced order also, and he's taking full refuge in the service of Krishna. So he will also be, able to be stably progressing his Krishna consciousness because he's accepting the grace of the Lord by sincerely engaging. So he's also sincere. That's why you can see in Prabhupada's time also, many of the hippies, they just joined temple full time. They just joined the renounced order. Many of them took sannyas and took, the full time they joined. But so and then how they got stability by dint of their sincerity, they could progress in Krishna consciousness also. Yeah, so some of them, may eventually be householder also, but that is completely within Krishna consciousness again. So that is up to the person where he is situated in a way where he is able to dedicate himself to Krishna's service. That is an individual thing. But you can see that how, the both, whether somebody was, as a renunciate or somebody was a grahastha, who took up the process of Krishna consciousness, they both got steadily progressed in Krishna consciousness. You can see that. So what is most important is to have full refuge in Krishna consciousness. That's most important. Right? So sincerity is required. Sincerely dedicating oneself to process of Krishna consciousness, that is required. And then one will be completely. Otherwise, how can somebody coming from such background can be able to, withstand his Krishna consciousness, and even sometimes somebody will be renounced order and all. How can somebody be going ahead so nicely? Because of taking full refuge in Krishna consciousness. So it doesn't matter then if somebody is that sincere. Sincerity plays a very key role in one's execution of Krishna consciousness. So the person who follows this method, that means continuing whatever situation one may be, either a grasta or a brahmachari or vanprastha or sannyasi, but engaging himself in Krishna consciousness, right, without ending all his activities in Krishna's service, then such a person is far better than a false pretender who takes up the path of his spiritual life, who doesn't take refuge in Krishna consciousness, just for some cheap adoration and all that. That's not very good. Since it's cheaper in the street, it's far better than the charlatan meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living. Oh, we are losing our candidates slowly, slowly. What does he write to say? Prabhu, I'm just, okay, we have two rights. Prabhuji, I will just go into the KC event for 30 minutes and then re-enter the class if that's okay. Okay. So next verse. Niyatam kuru karmatvam karmajayo ya karmanaha sharira yatra picha te na prasiddhayeda karmanaha. With the translation.
Perform your prescribed duty, for doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work.
Yeah. After seeing this, one devotee was saying, Prabhu, then why should I join ashram, Prabhu? You know, because I have to perform a prescribed duty. No, it's better doing. So what doing is better than not working, no, Prabhu. Let me work, Prabhu. So the point is that everybody has to do prescribed duty. It is not that, prescribed duty means you have to be only, you have prescribed duty only as a grihastha. No, you have prescribed duty as brahmachari also. You have prescribed duty as vanprastha, prescribed duty as sannyas. Everybody has prescribed duties. And in Krishna consciousness, it's very meaningful because we have so many duties in Krishna consciousness. So we are not giving up work. We are not giving up. Ours is a perfect process of fully engaging in Krishna service. So of course, you can always choose to be in any ashram and do his prescribed duties and dedicate himself to Krishna. That is fine. But thinking this to be, okay, this is how he's changing. So that means he has to be in that particular, he has to be in Grihastha only. It's not like that. You can be a brahmachari also and can be prescribed if you want to be. Of course, if you want to be Grihastha, you can prescribe it also, but you can also dedicate yourself there to Krishna consciousness. So both are accepted, but the point is everybody has to do prescribed duties. Well, brahmachari also should prescribe duty. Brahmachari cannot say, I have renounced. I'm going to just sit and meditate and I don't do anything. Not like that. He has to do a lot of duties in Krishna consciousness. It's okay, I'll simply do penance and you have to do a lot of duties in Krishna consciousness. Practical devotional service, Prabhupada said. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without purport.
There are many pseudo meditators who misrepresent themselves as being great professional men of high parentage and who falsely boast that they have sacrificed everything for the sake of advancement in spiritual life. Lord Krishna did not want Arjuna to become a pretender. Rather, the Lord desired that Arjuna perform his prescribed duties as set forth for Kshatriya. Arjuna was a householder and a military general. Therefore, it was better for him to remain as such and perform his religious duties as prescribed for the householder Kshatriya. Such activities gradually cleanse the heart of a mundane man and free him from material contamination. So-called renunciation for the purpose of maintenance is never approved by the Lord, nor by any religious scripture.
Yeah, so-called renunciation for the purpose of maintenance, right? So that is not to be done. Yes, after all.
After all, one has to maintain one's body and together by some work. Work should not be given up capriciously without purification of materialistic propensities.
So a brahmachari should not simply say, oh, I will not work. No, I will not follow the order of temple president. No, he has to work, he has to wash pots. Like just before I was making chapatis, when I came here. Before that, I had to worship the deities. Because I'm working also. Like in outside was also there's professors, they keep speaking, right? So I'm also speaking from morning, different classes I've been giving. This is my first, second, third, fourth, fifth. This is my fifth class now. So and outside will also people speak so much. That is their work. So I have some tendency to be a teacher, to keep to speak and teach. So I'm doing that work, and this is also told by my Guru, my spiritual, my superiors want me to do that. And also, temple pujan may want me to do some service also. So I do some cooking also, some making chapati, sometimes washing pots, sometimes maybe cleaning. So all this work we have to do, all this devotee. So this will purify us like that. So we don't, just give up our work in Krishna consciousness. Like, and when our nature, we may have certain, talents and skills, certain kind of, so then we can engage ourselves accordingly also. And Guru we can understand, devotees can understand. They will engage us accordingly sometimes in certain services like that. Work should not be given up capacity without purification but responsibility. So we should keep doing that wonderful work in Krishna consciousness. So when I'm speaking about Gita, Bhagavatam, like this reading, speaking and all that, so this is also purified. The hearer also, the speaker also, like that. So this is prescribed duty. So suppose I'm not being here, then somewhere we have to do the similar kind of nature will come out. I'll be teacher. Like I was physics teacher before. I teach physics. I'd give some 5-6 hours lecture sometimes. So if I don't teach physics, I mean, if I'm not, then I'll have to do that anyway. So why not do this? So we can dovetail all our activities in Krishna service like that. And somebody may choose to be, a teaching professor and still be Krishna conscious. But he can do so that is also when somebody may want to do it that way. It's up to the person how he wants to dedicate himself. So it is more indirect, but he can have some direct different ways of devotion service in that situation also. And in that particular ashram also. Same way one pastor can have particular way of dedicating himself and doing his duties. So everybody has to do his duties in Krishna consciousness. Nobody who is saying that no work. Everybody has to work. So work should not be given up capriciously without purification but reciprocity. All of us have to work. Right? Yes. Anyone?
Anyone who is in the material world is certainly possessed of propensity for lording it over material nature, or in other words, for sense gratification. Such polluted propensities have to be cleared. Without doing so through prescribed duties, one should never attempt to become a so-called transcendent, renouncing work and living at the cost of others.
So, yeah, pure. Yeah, so beautiful have to do it. So without doing it, one should never attempt to become so-called transcendent, renouncing work. So that kind of transcendent is just simply renounces the work and doesn't take refuge in Krishna consciousness. It's very risky. It's not very good. So simply just getting maintenance of the body. It's not very good. One has to work very hard for Krishna. So that is fine. It doesn't matter whether you're grahastha, you're brahmachari, or sannyasi, or vanprastha. Wonderful. Is it clarifying? Does it clarify point 2? You have any question?
No problem.
Does it give you some understanding, but some more better understanding?
Yeah, yes, bro.
Yeah. Text 9. यज्ञात् कर्मणो अन्यत्र लोकयं कर्म बन्धनः तदर्थं कर्म कौन्तेय मुक्त संगा समाचार. Yes. Translation.
Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction. And in that way, you will always remain free from bondage.
So work should be done as a sacrifice for Vishnu. So work causes bondage in this material world otherwise. So you should perform prescribed duties for his satisfaction. And that way you will remain free from bondage. So somebody may have to, like somebody may be making chapati directly for the Lord, or washing the pot for the Lord directly. So prescribed duties is directly meant for satisfying the Lord, but he should do in that consciousness as well. And one employee in the temple, he was cleaning the ashram and temple and all that, temple premises. So I asked him, why you're cleaning? He said, Papi pet ka sawal hai, he was saying. Then I told her, but it's Lord's temple, he's doing Lord's service. So even though he may be doing direct service to the Lord, like some brahmachari may be doing, but his consciousness is that Papi pet ka sawal. So then that may not be very good consciousness. Though he'll surely get benefit for sure, but still, it's more like he's doing in a karmi mentality. So we have to do in the consciousness to please the Lord. So, and another aspect of it, somebody may be, say, professor in a college or doing some business, but he's fully conscious that this I do it only for the pleasure of Krishna. Whatever money is earned and faithful because he's a grahastha, he has to do his prescribed duty, and he's doing it only for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna and using everything for service to the Lord. But then that becomes a devotional service actually. So the consciousness matters a lot. So when I should perform the prescribed duties as a sacrifice for Vishnu, so for his satisfaction. So everybody has his prescribed duties. Brahmachari also has, Grahastha also has, Vanprastha also has, Sannyas also has. Everybody has to prescribed duties for the satisfaction of the Lord. In this way, you can remain free from all bondage.
Purport. Since one has to work even for the simple maintenance of the body, the prescribed duties for a particular social position and the quality are so made that the purpose can be fulfilled. Yajna means Lord Vishnu or sacrificial performance. All sacrificial performance are meant for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. The Vedas enjoin Yagno vai Vishnu.
Yagno vai Vishnu.
In other words, the same purpose is served whether one performs prescribed yajnas or directly serves Lord Vishnu. Krishna consciousness is therefore performance of yajna, as it is prescribed in this verse. The Varnashrama institution also aims at satisfying Lord Vishnu. Varnashrama charavata purushena parapuman Vishnur arajyate. Therefore, one has to work for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Any other work done in the material world will cause a bondage, for both good and evil work have their reactions, and any reaction binds the performer. Therefore, one has to work in Krishna consciousness to satisfy Krishna or Vishnu. And while performing such activities, one is in a liberated stage. This is the great art of doing work, and in the beginning, this process requires very expert guidance. One should therefore act very diligently under the expert guidance of a devotee of Krishna.
Sorry.
Direct instruction of Lord Krishna himself, under whom Arjuna had the opportunity to work. Nothing should be performed for sense gratification, but everything should be done for the satisfaction of Krishna. This practice will not only save one from reaction of work, but also gradually elevate one to transcendental loving service of the Lord, which alone can raise one to the kingdom of God.
So nice, no? It's also a good point. So everyone has to work, the simple means of body, prescribed for purpose of position, quality, and purpose can be fulfilled. Yeah. Prescribed for purpose of position, quality. Yagna means Lord Vishnu, also sacrificial performance also are meant for satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. So Yagna, so he says, same purpose served whether one performs prescribed yajna or directly serves Lord Vishnu. Because yajnas are also meant for satisfying the Lord. So if you're directly serving the Lord, you're doing yajna. That means when you're chanting Hare Krishna mantra, it's yajna. You're cooking for the Lord, it's a yajna. You're printing books, distributing books, it's a yajna. When you're taking care of the child with the consciousness that the child should become a great devotee of the Lord, I should do physical, emotional, spiritual care nicely. It's a yajna. Putting up a family so that families, properly protected, maintained, so that they can gradually they can be facilitated to become Krishna conscious. It's a yajna. So every act in Krishna consciousness done for the pleasure of the Lord is actually yajna. Somebody may be doing business, but having the consciousness that I'm servant of Guru and Krishna, and let me all income or whatever it comes is all for the pleasure of the Lord. And it does that also. It does uses everything for the service of the Lord. I mean, family maintenance also is a part of service to the Lord. That consciousness, it doesn't overly and misuses his money for some application. Doesn't do that. So it becomes yajna. So Krishna consciousness, therefore, the performance of yajna, as it is prescribed in this verse. So if you are Krishna conscious, if you are Krishna conscious way acting, you are actually doing yajna. You are always acting for the satisfaction of the Lord. And Varnashrama institution also satisfying Lord Vishnu. Varnashrama charata purushena parapuman Vishnu aradhati sethi. So one has to work for the satisfaction of Vishnu. So any other work done in the material world will be a cause of bondage. So if you are not Krishna conscious, it becomes a cause of bondage. So both good and evil work will have a direction, and that direction will bind the performance. One has to work in Krishna consciousness to satisfy Krishna, and will perform his activities when he is in liberated stage. Is the art of doing great work. So the art of doing work is to be Krishna conscious and know what. Rather than have to fight, he has to fight Krishna. At the beginning of this process, it requires very expert guidance. So we need to be guided by Guru, by which we can understand how to satisfy Krishna with all our work. One should therefore act very diligently and expect guidance to go to the Lord Krishna, under the direct instruction of Lord Krishna himself, or under the direction of devotees. Nothing will be performed for sun gratification. That means we have to find out from Guru how should we act. That's not doing anything for sun gratification. Everything will be done for satisfaction of Krishna. This practice will not only save one from the reaction of work, but also gradually elevate one to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Yeah, so that's a very powerful point. That way you can be saved from the reaction of work when you're doing everything for satisfying Krishna. And then gradually you elevate yourself in transcendental loving service of the Lord, which alone can raise the kingdom of God. That's nice. Nice one. What do you think, what do you find? You are able to get some more deeper understanding of Yagya and all that. Hare Krishna, Praveen, are you there?
Yes, Prabhu.
They're able to get some more deeper understanding of Yagya?
Yeah.
सह यज्ञा प्रजा सृष्टा पुरोवाचा प्रजापतिः अनेन प्रस्विष्यध्वमेषा एषवोत्स्त्व इष्टकामधुक्.
In the beginning of the creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generation of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them, saying, "Be thou happy by this yajna, sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation."
So now it's talking. So I will just show you. So here it talks about. Okay. Yeah. So here saying from karma kanda to karma yoga. So attaining happiness by sacrifice yajna and comprehensively mentioned demigod. One should eat food. Okay. And then eventually come to the platform of karma yoga. Karma kanda to karma yoga. So karma kanda is that kind of yajna which is done for the pleasure of the demigod. I mean, for sacrifice the demigod for attaining some material benefit. So that is karma kanda. But karma yoga is doing everything for the pleasure of the Lord. That is karma yoga, and that is called real yajna. That is real yajna. The karma kanda yajna is for fruitive activities. Yeah, go ahead. Transmission. What here is talking about is in the beginning of creation. That is kind of karma kanda yajna. In the beginning of creation,
the material creation by the Lord of creatures, Vishnu, is a chance offered to the conditioned souls to come back.
No, in the beginning of creation.
Oh, I already did that.
Yeah, again you read.
In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, "Be thou happy by this yajna, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation." Purport. The material creation by the Lord of creatures, Vishnu, is a chance offered to the conditioned souls to come back home, back to Godhead. All living entities within the material creation are conditioned by material nature because of their forgetfulness of the relationship to Vishnu or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vedic principles are to help us understand this eternal relation as it is stated in Bhagavad Gita. Vedescha sarvera hamya veja. The Lord says that the purpose of Vedas is to be understand Him. In the Vedic hymns, it is said that.
Do you make this note of this statement? It says material creation with the Lord is a chance offered to the conditioned souls to come back to God. This is the purpose of material creation. Can you imagine? In whatever way the material world is designed, its ultimate purpose is to take us back to God. It's a whole house of correction. So whole purpose of this material creation itself is to send us back to God. So Lord was very anxious. It is written in Bhagavatam. In the beginning, when there was no creation, Lord is very anxious to create this material world. Why you are so anxious? It looks very bad, no? Material world. Why to create material world? So many souls suffering. But Lord was anxious because he knew that this is the platform for the rebellious souls, the misuse their free will, to become reformed and come back to Krishna. So the Lord was very anxious. Yes, bro. Sorry.
In the Vedic hymns, it is said, okay. Therefore, the Lord of the living entities is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. In Srimad Bhagavatam also, Srila Shukadeva Goswami describes the Lord as Pati in so many ways. Sriyapatir Yagnapatir Prajapatir, Diyampatir Lokapatir Dharapati, Patir Gatis Chandaka Vrishni Satpatam, Prasidatam Me Bhagavan Satam Pati. The Prajapati is Lord Vishnu, and he is the Lord of all living creatures, all words and all beauties, the protector of everyone. The Lord created this material world to enable the conditioned soul to learn how to perform yajnas for the satisfaction of Vishnu, so that while in the material world they can live very comfortably without anxiety, and after finishing the present material body, they can enter into the kingdom of God. That is a whole program for the conditioned soul. By performance of yajna, the conditioned souls gradually become Krishna conscious and become godly in all respects. In the age of Kali, the Sankirtana Yajna is recommended by Vedic scriptures, and this transcendental system was introduced by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of all men in this age. Sankirtana Yajna and Krishna consciousness go well together. Lord Krishna in his devotional form is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam as follows, with special reference to Sankirtana Yajna. Krishna Varnam Vishak Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yagner Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti Hi Sumedesha.
So this is a very famous verse. You should memorize, Praveen Prabhu. This is about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In Bhagavatam it comes. Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam. Krishna Varnam Tusha Akrishnam. Akrishna means he's not black. He's Gaura, golden. Krishna Varnam Tusha Akrishnam. Sango Pangastra Parshadam. And he's also having his Parshada. It's coming, appearing with his Parshadas. And Astra. Sango Pangastra. So his Astra and Parshada. Along with that, he's appearing. Jagnai Sankirtana Prayer. And he is, inundating, performing the Sankirtan Yajna. Jayanti Sumit Sa. Sumit Sa means very intelligent. The one who is very intelligent will do this Sankirtan Yajna, this kind of worship. Yes, read the translation.
In this age of Kali, people who are endowed with sufficient intelligence will worship the Lord, who is accompanied by his associates, for performance of Sankirtan Yajna. Other yajnas prescribed in the Vedic literatures are not easy to perform in this age of Kali. But the Sankirtan Yajna is easy and sublime for all purposes, recommended in Bhagavad Gita also.
Now look, here in purport, Krishna is telling that Lord has sent forth all these men and demigods along with sacrifice of Vishnu, and bless them, saying, we happy sacrifice because Prabhupada will bestow upon you everything desirable and living happily and achieving liberation gradually. So this is like a gradual thing. You worship demigods and then get some, just like a dharma, then artha, then kama, then moksha, gradually, like that. So that's why you can go toward the path of liberation. That also liberation in terms of attaining Krishna consciousness is like, one has to come to that point. It's a gradual path. It's like a power kind of pravritti marg. But what Prabhupada is writing purport is a different way. He's writing that first of all he says that this kind of performance of yajna in Kali Yuga will be not so practical, other kinds of yajna. So Lord has given, so Prabhupada is saying that the ultimate purpose of the Lord is to go back to Godhead. That's what Lord wants from you. So now and Lord is your Shashwatapati. So he's telling that, no, Vishnu is your real Lord. So the Lord of Creation sent for generations of men and demigods and all. But he's emphasizing this point, So along with sacrifice of fourth generation of men and demigods, along with sacrifice of Vishnu and bless them saying, yeah, so ultimately all the yajnas are meant for Vishnu. But there is a gradual path also when people worship the demigods and they can come here. Here will come. The demigods being pleased by sacrifice will also please you, and just by cooperation between men and government, prosperity will reign for all. It's like that. But Prabhupada here is very intelligently and diligently, nicely, consciously putting this point that how the Vishnu is the Shashwatam Pati, and you should satisfy Vishnu only. So all yagya you do, what Krishna is requiring, do yagya for Vishnu, and that yagya, the other kinds of yagya won't work. The only yagya what you should work is Sankirtan yagya, which is the only yagya performing sacrifice for Krishna. That is highest is Sankirtan yagya, or do Krishna conscious yagya, like that. Perform Krishna, do Krishna consciousness, and that will satisfy Vishnu, and that's how you'll attain the perfection of life. Very much boiled down to the essence. So this is the geniusness of Prabhupada. Somebody may say, hey, Prabhupada's translations are not, or purports are not as literal as what verse is saying. No, it is not just as literal. It is much more than that. It is understanding the intention of the Lord and, giving the whole conclusive truth and the most essential and profound and clear truth. What one has to get immediately is giving here. You're getting now because he understands the essence of everything. Nice, no? The way you see how Prabhupada is died. So nice. Yeah, text 11. Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayanta shreya paramapsyasatam. So Praveen Bro, can you summarize what we discussed till now? We left now some time back.
So the previous purport?
Yeah, 2-3, whatever.
Okay.
What was the last point you heard before you left?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, it was 3.6. It was about false renunciation and the fact that the mind doesn't renunciate and the senses do not renunciate. So
okay, 6. Okay, got it. Yes.
So yeah.
Okay, maybe you can hear the recording.
Okay.
But Praveen, do you want to say something? Till now, whatever after that we discussed. You want to summarize a little bit?
Yeah, so overall what I understand is regarding the senses, regarding the work tendencies, one should not restrict them, rather one should do the prescribed work. Once they do the prescribed work, it gradually purifies their materialistic tendencies, especially if you do that work as a devotee. It gradually purifies those work tendencies, especially the tendency to lord over the material nature, things like that. So work like that as a devotee, then it gradually gives the purification of heart. So basically,
quickly, it will give you quickly also because you are doing it for Krishna. The degree you do it in the consciousness of Krishna consciousness, it is a devotional service only.
Yeah, with the consciousness of Krishna, yeah.
So that's the devotional service itself, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I told as a devotee. So, so that's the overall understanding I got.
See, one gradual process, what you're talking about is we do prescribed duties without Krishna consciousness. That's a very gradual process where we use gradual. But here when you do prescribed duties in Krishna consciousness, it's a powerful purificative process because you're acting in Krishna consciousness. And I also said that how in Krishna's ISKCON, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanprastha, Sannyas, everybody is doing prescribed duties. Not that we are capriciously giving up our work. Everybody has to work, right? In the example how brahmachari also has to work, distribute books, wash pots, clean the temple, give lectures. Different, they based upon their psychophysical nature, they are given so many services. There are prescribed duties given by the Guru. So these are the prescribed duties for brahmachari. Same way prescribed duties for sannyasis. Prescribed for one person because it was best. So everybody has the prescribed duties to do. So everybody has to serve Krishna and engage himself fully in Krishna consciousness, engaging all his body, mind, and sense in Krishna service. So that spirit, everybody is a true sannyasi in this con or in Krishna consciousness. Correct, no?
Yeah. Yes.
I think Virat Bhai should hear the recording. No? Is there?
Sure, Prabhuji.
No, huh? Sure.
Pardon? I said sure, Prabhuji.
That's sure. Okay.
I was there's a Prabhupada disciple in this event. He was doing a kirtan, so I went to go listen to it.
What is his name?
Lakshmi, His Grace Lakshmi Narasimhan Prabhu. He's 75 years old.
Oh, the event is over?
No, Prabhuji. I came out because this class is still going on.
I can pause here.
No, it's okay, Prabhuji. I traveled 2 hours for this event, so I thought I'll just attend a little bit.
No. You can attend. I can take tomorrow. No problem.
No, it's okay, Prabhuji. I'm just sitting in the car. It's okay. I'm good.
No. You attend. Why I'm saying? I'll also not take some prasadam and all. I'll also do that. So tomorrow when can we have tomorrow then?
Yeah.
So what are the timings? Like you said initially, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Sorry for my